Hey everybody! Happy Monday. You can tell it's early. I mean, it's not that. It's 8:24 a.m. I got the early morning voice. I got the combination baggy eyes and morning voice. I got the baggy eyes. What? I got the morning voice. Huh? I got the combination baggy eyes and morning voice. That's what happens at 9 a.m. Right now, I look 37. 9 a.m. It's like Cinderella reverse turning into a pumpkin. I look 35. As soon as the real morning rolls around. Hey, Apollyon, Mega Satan. Okay. Apollyon is all a lesson in curtailing your ambition. Everything should be fine. You just gotta remember, sometimes just getting a raw statistical upgrade is better than turning it into a fly. Unless, I don't know, maybe it is nice to have an army of flies like Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. I am willing to get a little dangerous like Darkwing Duck. That's not how Apollyon works. I got Apollyon confused with Tainted Apollyon. Regular Apollyon just has the Void. Okay. I mean, it's a bold decision to get rid of HP regen. I feel like it. Oh my god! If this were Slay the Spire, we just made a grievous error. Even if it. Oh, take it. Are you stupid? What's wrong with you? HP, please. Okay, fine. Let's do it. It's fine. It's a bit of a busted start, but on the bright side, it's like a finger curled on the monkey's paw, right? We don't have an empty heart container anymore, and that was one of the most scary things that I had going on, was that empty heart container. Now it's, now I've got full HP. In its own way, Health Down is a full HP card. Yeah. How about that? Well, there is no banter to be had yet. This is an XL, it is an XL floor. We want to fight Mega Satan. Don't take my Void plays, man. They're valuable. Okay, that's very nice. Let's see if we can get a full charge first. Because in general, I really think that with Apollyon, and I didn't expect to get... I mean, you heard me doing the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell bit at the start. I didn't necessarily expect that we would open this episode with a conversation about the game of Isaac. I thought maybe, you know, we're a character that has a little bit of rope to work with to begin with. Maybe we don't have to engage in such banter-deficient discussions. Unfortunately, that's not the case, so we'll be rolling here. Hold on, I've been listening to videos lately. I think I'm a little quiet. I think I'd like to be around here. I do. Hey, you know what? You can't take a rotten heart. You can't. Because if I get hit one time, I die. That's not good. You need to get. This could be the greatest Void play of all time. All you needed was a Book of Revelations, and all we got was a Book of Revelations. So use the book, because the first play from Void does not actually give you the benefit. We might as well use Monster Manuel then, as well. And then suck it up. Now everything's fine. It was bad for a minute. We should be okay now. Every time we get a charge, we'll get a Spirit Heart. And also a familiar temporarily, and also a damage bonus. But we'll use it predominantly. Like, here, I'm okay getting an orbital, although I will say a level 1 orbital doesn't interest me that much. We're gonna try to strike a balance between, you know, using charges for effective purposes, you know, mostly for HP, and then also using them for sucking up items. That's my 2 cents. I really think that Apollyon, the play is... it's an interesting character. The problem is that when you get a bad spacebar item, there's still no way to capture, like, a yield from it. Because you just end up aggregating all these, like, terrible spacebar items that don't do anything. which is why I'm not really concerning myself too much with the jar of lemonade back there. So I bet if we pick this up, we get an HP upgrade. Just being honest. I bet we get our HP down and we can use it as an HP up. That's just science. So now we're back. I think I'm willing to just be like, you know what? Fair enough. We'll do that. And that was a range and luck upgrade. It's okay. Certainly not bad. And we'll be moving on. Everything actually turned out... I mean, I guess we should explore more. If we're going to... If we have space on this floor and we want to use our charge as much as possible. This is actually really good. So this is a secret room. For sure. Go ahead. Make my day. You know, Clint Eastwood is still making movies. Clint Eastwood is 90-something. I think he might be 91 years old. And once every couple of years, he's like, you know what the world could really use? A movie where, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this as delicately as possible. A movie where, inexplicably, a very dangerous task is assigned to a man who's in his 90s. I'm not necessarily trying to suggest that a 90-year-old individual is incapable of anything. And I know how that sounds. It's like, but I'm not. No, I'm not. Genuinely, I actually watched believe it or not, this is true. I watched a documentary that Carl Reiner, who was a 95-year-old stand-up comedian and friend of Mel Brooks, until I think he died in 2019, maybe? He made a documentary about being in his 90s, and he interviewed a lot of other people that were old, and it was inspiring to see people who were like, you know, well beyond what someone my age would consider elderly, still have like a high quality of life. You know, there were joggers. Now, were they setting world records? No, but they were like, hey, I'm having a fun time. It gives my life meaning. There were, you know, writers and you know, people who were just having really a good time. You know what's bizarre, and I'll get back to the original discussion here, but in yet another, and I'm not a scientist, but this is I listen to these podcasts on like behavioral finance, and it touches on, you know, psychology research from time to time. And one of the apparently recurring themes in psychology research is that the two happiest demographics of human beings, at least when you select by age, are young children and the elderly. Which you would think young children, I think everybody, you know, it's not like nobody has had a hard childhood, but, you know, when you're insulated a little bit from... I guess we could do this, actually. Right, it's not going to work immediately, but that's fine. When you're insulated a little bit from, you know, the adult pressures of the world, and, you know, everything's taken care of for you, and, you know, usually you get to spend a lot of time with your friends daily if you're at school, and, you know, I understand, again, not everybody has a great childhood, but, in a broad sense, that's most likely. Or that's most average, at least. And then a lot of the research is kind of predicated upon figuring out why the elderly would actually have such a high standard of happiness when, you know, that from at least a naive, very young person's perspective, you look at them and you're like, well, they're more likely to have health risks, and, you know, maybe like their friends have also got health risks, or, you know, have even started to pass away and stuff like that. You'd think that there would be more negativity there, and there is apparently. Again, I'm speaking like secondhand of a secondhand here, but you know, it's not that all elderly people are beaming, but in general, if you look at over the scope of somebody's life, they're happiest as a child, and then in old age, and then that period from, like, you know, 20 to 60 when they're really out there like trying to grind. That's when things are at their lowest in terms of enjoyment. But anyway, it's interesting, right? But I was reading reviews of his new movie. I forget what, Cry Macho, I think. And it's just you just have to find yourself laughing. Like, so many of the reviews, and they're from people that are like professional film critics, right? Like, their whole job is to watch movies. They understand the concept of, like, you know, suspension of disbelief in some situations. They're not just trying to make easy jokes. And yet they're like, I wanted to watch the movie on its own merits, but at the same time, like, I just can't get the idea in my head out that these people, like, I guess they need someone to take on, like, the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico, and their best option was literally like a 93-year-old man. It just seems implausible to me. Anyway, that's Clint Eastwood. You know, apparently Clint Eastwood also, he's a very unique filmmaker, apparently, in the sense that he only does 1 to 2 takes for most of his shots. So this is how he's capable of getting, like, a movie done every 6 months. Which I can relate to, because, you know, we probably would have done a second take on this one. But alas, we have no choice now. I don't think we need to buy the backpack, because we could just, if instead of holding 2 spacebar items independently, we could just suck it up into Void. Admittedly, we're not using our Void as much as we should here, but it's for a good purpose, you know, that we might be able to suck up whatever we get here. And I really, again, you might think that this is like me being so silly. Oh, because you sucked up that level 1 cube of meat, you're not going to get to a level 2 cube of meat? Good. The controversial opinion, the cubes of meat actually get worse the more you get, except 3 to 4. 1 to 2, okay, and 0 to 1 is a gimme, but 1 to 2, I wouldn't say it gets worse, but a pedestal to add shots to a familiar whose bullets you can't really control, no big deal. 2 to 3, you lose an orbital to get a crappy, like, I don't even know what you'd call it, a friend down the road and back again. I think we can at least make Purgatory work. And we'll suck up the cube of meat. And then 3 to 4, at least your crappy familiar gets stronger. Okay, well, are we gonna suck up? Yeah, we are. We're actually fine. It looks a little spotty, but it's actually fine. It tastes awful, but it works. Buckley's. Don't, hey, you know what? Use your brain. We could always use, Void if we take so much damage that, like, if we lose this half rotten heart, then just pop Void and we're chilling. Anyway, that's Clint Eastwood. I'm not trying to give anybody, you know, lessons on what old age is gonna look like. Believe it or not, I'm not there myself yet. That could have been bad. Hey, we finally got a damage upgrade. Very cool. Let me caffeinate here. I still think we're at, like, you know, it's a bit of a dubious quality to this run so far, but that's fine. We're gonna get there, I think. We got the tools. Very lucky we kind of beat the odds on 2 deals with the Angel in a row, even if our deal is not that incredible. I probably underrate Purgatory a little bit. Anything that takes the power and agency, like, out of my own hands. I only have 3 items in the item tracker. And, well, okay. I have 3 items in the item tracker. One of them is something that gave me 4 pills. I took 1. One of them is Purgatory, and then the other one is the first key piece. That's so sad. Anyway. By the way, feel free, if you're like a happiness researcher and you disagree with what I said, feel free to correct me. I am very much acknowledging the fact that I am that guy right now who, like, listened to a podcast and is like, hey, did you know, I used to be confused about how the world works, but then I listened to a podcast and now I got it all figured out. You know, you would think that. I know that based on what you're saying, you would think that, but based on this podcast that I listened to recently, you are an idiot. You're totally wrong. Did you know that? I'm becoming that guy. By the way, we're saving Soul of the Forgotten to be able to use... You piece. I Charlie staring it. To be able to use Soul of Forgotten to possibly get added leverage on an Eddie room. That speaks to me. You know, I actually would love it if you took my Rotten Heart from me. And then I'm willing to just get a little... Oh! I forgot that we... Sucked up Mr. Boom. Yeah, okay. So, like, I also forgot that the last time we used it, so there's some embarrassment there. Anyway, it's an exciting day in the country of Canada, with which I was born and reside. It's another election. This is look, when I was a kid, we had elections once every 4 years on average. Typically, I'm not going to belabor the way that the Canadian political system works. It's kind of similar to a UK parliamentary model. But suffice it to say, if the government is sufficiently divided, it usually does not last its typical 4-year mandate. And I think from like I was alive in 1988, and the elections were like, I don't know, 92, 94, 98, 02, 06, 2010 or something like that. It was pretty steady at like once every 4 years, once every 4 years. Since 2010, I think I've voted in like 7 federal elections, which is kind of crazy. Not that I am complaining, honestly. Like, I'm a sick and twisted psycho. I actually very much enjoy the process of voting. I don't just vote in the federal election. I vote in the provincial election, like our statewide election, to Americanize it for my largely American audience. And I go psycho, man. I vote in the municipal election for the mayor and city council. I vote for who I want to be on the parks board and stuff like that. I'll admit, okay, that a lot of the federal election, I'm switched on. I know what's up. I know my candidates in my local area. I know, federally where I stand. The provincial election, I know the candidate in my local area. I know generally, which provincial parties I like. In the municipal election, I basically just vote against who the most annoying city councilors were in the previous election. Like, I'm not trying to cause problems, okay, but there's a city councilor in Vancouver, and I think it's fair to say that, at least on some issues, we disagree. Although it's always hard to tell, Like, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it, without being overly rude. But in, like, federal politics, it seems like you're either Team A or Team B, And if you're Team A, you vote with them 99% of the time. If you're Team B, you vote with them 0% of the time, right? Or you know what I mean. You vote along your party lines. The city politics, like the municipal level politics, at least in Vancouver, oftentimes has me thinking of that Onion article that's like, heartbreaking, the worst person you've ever met, just made a really good point. Like, there's a counselor here that every time she tweets, she does it in like what's the word? That's a strange one. Those crosswords that are like, they only give you picture clues and you gotta figure it out? She tweets like that with emojis, and I'm just like, man, I do not like this. Every once in a while, she's like, hey, free parking on downtown streets, and I'm like, let's go! She did it, I can't believe it. But yeah, for the most part, I spend a couple of years being like, I can't wait to vote for anybody but you on the world's longest municipal ballot. And then they win with like a 70% majority, and I go, all right, fine. It's the will of the people. But yeah, I always, I don't know, it was just baked into me at an early age. I am also not one of those people that's like, if you don't vote, you get to complain. I don't know, I'm trying not to undermine the entire electoral system. There are a lot of times, you know, without making it like too openly political, but due to the way that the first past the post system works in Canada, there's like a lot of times where meaningfully your vote has essentially no impact. You know, if you live in a riding that's like 99% likely to go in one direction, and you're not voting for either that person or their next closest opposition, then yeah, we do have a bomb though, but we do have a bomb though. Let's grab this. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's good enough to not suck it up and turn it into a shot speed upgrade. You know, I understand you still. I think every vote for a party generates $2.50 in fundraising for that party as well. So, you know, if you really distill it down to its most noble elements, for donating like half an hour of your time, you can give $2.50 to your favorite political party. So there is that. But you know, there's situations where, due to the way that things work electorally, I think that whether you vote or not, unfortunately, in those situations, not in all situations, but in some situations, actually isn't all that important. And you should still be able to complain. That's like, it's protected in the Charter of Human Rights, you know? Which is our version of the Constitution. Thou shalt be able to complain no matter what. Well, I mean, if you had gone out and voted in this riding where your vote literally didn't tip the scales even slightly, then sure, you'd be able to complain, because you would have had a hand in changing it. Anyway, in spite of that, I'm very pro-voting. I know it's a controversial standpoint. That's why, like, every time I've had the opportunity to, I've voted for a change in our electoral system that would make ranked balloting, or at least something outside of first past the post, winner takes all, like a little bit more common. But like every time, you know, 2006, 2007 Ontario referendum, I was like, this is it, man, we're gonna get rid of first past the post. What the heck, it got voted down. 2015, one of the federal parties promised, they were like, electoral reform is 100% like on our list. Then in their first term, they were like, yeah, we actually like asked some people about it, decided they don't really care, so we're not gonna do it. It's funny how that worked out. And then in BC, I was like, finally, it's been 10 years since that Ontario referendum. We're gonna get electoral reform in British Columbia, and then it failed again. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess it's not as popular of a position as I thought it would be. But one of these days, man, Clint Eastwood, I'm gonna be a 94-year-old man, the only person who can get ranked balloting added to the election is a 94-year-old bald man. By the way, this weekend, sorry, I mean, that was political, but it wasn't that political. I mean, actually, you know what it was? It was political, but it was too political. Sure, let's do that. Which means that it's actually not that offensive, you know? People get offended by politics when it's, like, team sports stuff, I think. And then, well, that's speaking in a broad generalization, I apologize, but... You know, that's the way I see it sometimes, at least. When people actually talk about, you know, policy, they're just like, bro, shut up, it's boring. Dunk on Ted Cruz. And I'm like, I don't follow him on Twitter, dude. Obviously, I follow Seth Rogen, so I, like, kind of follow Ted Cruz, because he tweets him, like, every 2 days, but... I was stunned, by the way. There was a Jeopardy clue, and I didn't watch the episodes. Like, it's not, because of the controversy. It's just because, like, I have to wait until the Jeopardy episodes end up on Netflix to see them, because otherwise they literally air once at 7 p.m. on a channel here called Yes TV, and I don't even know, like, what it is. You know, I actually think that this item is not that bad. I don't think it's worth sucking up. I think we can get some power there. But the clue was like, hey, this Vancouver native lent his voice to the transit system in 2018. Here's a sample. And the sample was him going, and him, you could probably guess who it is at this point, but, hey, get your feet off the seat. My mom might sit there one day. And it's clearly Seth Rogen's voice, like he might as well have been going, but he, nobody got it. I was stunned. That's kind of a Jeopardy classic, I'll admit, is, you know, hey, who was the king of Portugal when they originally discovered the country of Japan? People are like, Fernando the Eighth. Easy, easy. Snap pick. And then they're like, who is this? And it's a photo of Kanye West. And they're like, I could not tell you. I couldn't tell you. I'm not saying King Fernando is less culturally... Well, yes, I am. I'm not saying he's less important to know the old, you know, leader of Portugal 700 years ago versus, you know, Kanye West. I'm just saying it's surprising because if you looked at the average, you know, a sample of the population, of which the average Jeopardy champion certainly is not represented by, but you would be surprised that that's where they delineated, I suppose. That being said, I'll also say that, you know, as somebody who's watched Jeopardy on and off for, you know, probably like 25 years at this point, I do feel like the modern champions of Jeopardy, which is just a sentence I love saying, I do feel like they've gone, ever since Ken Jennings, you need to be a little bit switched on to pop culture, right? Like, it used to be that you would... The biggest turbo nerds, and I say that as an aspiring one myself, and I think we'll just snag that. You know what? We can get a free item by doing this, so let's do it. The biggest turbo nerds would win, and then there'd be like a question about sports, and they'd get their butt kicked, but it wouldn't matter because they'd still win easily on, you know, art history and biblical questions. Now, I really feel like if you want to be one of those legendary Jeopardy players... You gotta have the pop culture brain switched on. You don't want your 2-week run to end just because you can't tell your Tom Brady's from your Peyton Mannings, you know? Spirit heart, please? Okay. Don't speak to me. And please don't stand so close to me. The reason I fought the angel statue in my head was to get the key piece and suck it up. Get a passive item. Obviously, that's not what ended up happening there, so I would like to apologize for my words and my deeds. Guppy's eye is really good, though. Anyway, oh, that's a golden penny. No, thank you. Anyway, I'm just, for whatever reason, I've always just enjoyed voting. You know, it feels like you're a part of the process. I don't delude myself into thinking that my individual vote, is necessarily, like, critical. I also definitely do not, like, vote police. Like, let me put it this way. I think if you... I'm gonna make a 2021 addendum to the idea that you can't complain if you don't vote. I definitely think you can complain if you don't vote. But it has to be, like, idle complaints, okay? I am gonna gatekeep voting, I suppose, is what I should say now. I don't think you get to... I think you could be like, those knuckleheads in Washington. You know how it is. In Ottawa, yeah. Well, you know, hey, you see somebody on the news get arrested for something, you're like, don't put him in jail, put him in Parliament. You know, I think you can do that. But if you politics post on Twitter more than once a day and you don't vote, you should be thrown in prison for the length of the existing government. Come on, if you're gonna spend potentially, let's not say let's not exaggerate, you know. If you're gonna spend hours a month complaining, you should spend the 15-20 minutes required to vote. That's my 2 cents on that one, at least. Or you could complain idly. But if you 94 cents, are you insane? That being said, it is a pretty good item. What else are we doing with the money? Hold on. There is a gift. What if you use the gift down here? I wonder if it gives you an anything pool. Glowing hourglass. What the heck? Is this allowed? I think I probably will buy Dad's ring, honestly. Why not, you know? For 94 cents. Well, I mean, because it's expensive, but we're not doing anything else with the money anyway. And by the way, with what I just said, I'm sure that, you know, there's counter-arguments brewing. Well, what if you live in a riding where the only polling station is 1 billion miles from where you live and you don't have a car, and your legs are really tired? You know, okay, sure. It's not a rhetorical skill to concoct, you know, a hypothetical situation. If you're really living it, then of course, but... You know, every once in a while you run into the logical extreme and you're like, well, are you actually living that? And they're like, no. But someone isn't, but could be, when you think about it. Which is, I guess, literally true. So I gotta give them that, but... Okay, well, you live in a riding where, it's a billion miles away and you don't have a car and nobody will drive you, even the people who are like fervent political supporters of that party. Well, okay, but what if, I know the polling doesn't show this, but what if your vote would have made the difference? And what if that riding would have made the difference between who got elected on a federal level? See, that's why, look, anyway, but sorry, we're unbased and vote-pilled. Embarrassing. I need Rob here for this discussion. Anyway, Clint Eastwood. The thing about him is he ain't happy. He's feeling glad. He's got sunshine in a bag. Something like that. Maybe we won't spend 94 cents. We'll see. Anyway, I don't know. It's just always... I take a sense of pride in it, at the very least. I definitely don't look up... I don't turn up my nose at the non-voters, by the way. Unless they're also the biggest complainers. And I know, okay, this is how I get myself stun-locked. Get me out of here. I want to use this Soul of the Forgotten. I even gave up, like, an Empress card just to hold it, but... Where's the crack? Excuse me, that's a desperate place for that crack to be. We've gotten so lucky, by the way, just with the positioning of our angel deals. Like, I think we've beaten the odds. I haven't even acknowledged it at all because I've been too busy, like, going off about how I'm, like, a political hero for standing in line for 20 minutes. We got another angel deal. Like, it's incredible. Give me the damage upgrades. I wouldn't mind sucking up a prayer card. Anyway, how am I doing? Like yesterday, I was, and I know this is a quote from I Think You Should Leave, but like, it's also genuinely true. For some reason, yesterday was like the most tired I've ever been in, excuse me, my key piece. It was like the most tired I've ever been in my entire life. And I say that knowing it's false because certainly like the days surrounding the birth of our child were much more tired. But there was also like routine shots of adrenaline where you're like, she coughed, is she okay? And then the nurse is like, please stop ringing the bell, man. Like, she's gonna be fine. I mean, they didn't say stop ringing the bell, but you could read the body language there. We deal with a lot of this, like, excuse me, my daughter blinked funny. Maybe we'll suck that up when we come back. And this is actually, like, a good way to play an Apollyon run, by the way. I'm so thankful we got the Book of Revelations, which really allowed this run to at least jog. I wouldn't say we're running, but we're jogging. But just for some reason, I think it just caught up to me, like, you know, the being busy, of course, the added tiredness factor that is applied when you have a child, and it's more like a cumulative factor than anything else. I mean, like, I think there are just... Oh, it's double damage. There's an Eddie room right there. Let's go. I think that, you know, there's situations where you are very tired, like you've been running around all day, but there's also just the fact that you've been doing it for 11 months or something like that, almost 12 months now, without much of a reprieve. It just sort of eventually, like, it catches up with you. It took a year, I guess, and it caught up with me. So I was just insanely tired yesterday. For like 8 hours. Usually when I'm tired, like oh, that's a huge HP downgrade. Usually, what the heck? Should have sucked it up. Usually when I'm tired for like a little bit. Let's just see what happens here. And then like an hour later, maybe I have like a glass of water or something like that, take a walk. When I come back, you know, an hour later, I'm like, oh, I'm feeling good. This time I was just tired the whole day. But I slept well last night, for sure. I love booger tears, man. Like, that's worth walking over spikes for. Shoot the whoop is fine, but I mean, we don't need to get too spicy here. We are fighting Mega Satan. There's a temptation to just leave, right? Like, to just take the Eddie room out, but no, we're not gonna do that. We're loving life here. And both Strength and Sun are essentially, I know how this sounds, but they're both HP upgrades for us. Or at least survivability. The Sun gives us that extra HP, but in a way, double damage is kind of double HP as well. Because we'll spend half as much time on the fight, which means in theory we should lose half as much HP, which should mean that our HP at now is, or our capacity is doubled. Anyway. Yeah, I was just like really tired. But we got through it, we made it work. You might say, why didn't you just take a nap? That's a good one, I didn't consider that. Wow, why didn't I just take a nap? Hey honey, you wanna drive? That's me talking to my daughter, not my wife. Alright, and I resolved the Best Buy saga. Oh, I think I told you that already, but I resolved that Best Buy saga yesterday. Finally. Give me Seraphim, and then see you later. We don't really need HP. So I think we got speed and shot speed there. Hard to tell. We do have 17 damage, though. I'm not going to worry about this too much. Alright. Dude, we got there. This is a fun run. Like, there was a little bit of a puzzle. There were some funny moments. That, the HP downgrade when I thought there was no way for us to get screwed was good. Now we're, you know, we got Sacred Heart. We're holding steady like Craig Finn. That's a reference to the independent musical band, the Hold Steady. You guys watch the Emmys last night? No, me neither. I'm sorry, I'm scrambling for anecdotes, man. I will say, like, when it comes to voting, I might be a voting psycho, but the people who work at the polls, first off, God bless them. Secondly, definitely, every time I find myself voting, I always end up with, like, just trying to interface with the poll volunteer, and like, it never, I always feel like they're mad at me for voting wrong, and not like voting incorrectly, but for like the process, and I'm like, well, I only get to do this like once every few years, man. Like, one time, I think it was in the last municipal election, they had you feed your vote into like an electronic machine. Like, you just put your piece of paper in, like it's a coin going into, or a dollar bill going into a vending machine. And then on the other side, it went, and a bunch of confetti came out, which I thought was weird, but also I was like, oh, they're celebrating my vote. Anyway, so I was gonna put it inside of the machine. I'm capable of it. It's a, you know, the slot is shaped like a piece of paper, and I was like, I can handle this. And the guy, he just kept sticking his hand out, and he's like, give me your ballot, give me your ballot. And I was like trying to put it into the thing. So then I took it out of its privacy shield, which is like a little manila envelope so that the poll workers can't see your vote. And he went, don't take it out of the privacy sleeve. And I was like, man, I'm just like, I'm not in a rush, but like, I understand the reason for this kind of, like, I was alive during the 2000 election and the Miami-Dade County stuff. I get it, but at the same time, look at me, I'm cool. I'm hip, I'm with it. Just put the thing into the shredder, man. Let me get down to the coffee shop so I can get an almond croissant before my stream starts. Hey. Do you believe that there's still a concept of undecided voters? I don't even know if... I'm assuming perhaps naively that it did exist at some point. But especially like in the last U.S. election, when they would have the debates and be like, "Hi, I'm an undecided voter." I was just like, really? So you haven't made your opinion up on these two guys yet? In a way, I was gonna say it's kind of admirable, but no, I think it's kind of cute that you're like, well, you know, I'm just doing my research still longer. But like, you really, after like, you know, the U.S. election cycle, which is literally 36 months of preparation and news, you haven't formed a definitive opinion one way or another on these two gentlemen who are running for president. So you're just like, you're just a liar, basically, is what you're saying. There's no, come on. I think in some situations, like in some elections, you can have an undecided voter, but whenever even in Canada, you know, as things get increasingly tribal up here, whenever they're like, we polled 1,500 undecided voters, I'm like, did you have to, like, sample the whole country to find them? Because that doesn't seem realistic to me. I don't know how, but undecided voters in this climate, in this economy? Right here in front of my salad? That's, when I get my HBO special, that joke's gonna frickin' kill, man. You're gonna be so embarrassed. None of these are actually any good for us, which is a sad story, but it's okay. Pop that strength question mark card, slow everything down here. Right here in front of my salad? I mean, like, I'll admit, in the municipal election, who am I gonna vote for? Like, when Vancouver runs a mayoral election again, I'll be undecided until probably, like, a week before the election, because I don't know what the heck anybody's running on. I don't know. The only person I know is, like, the existing mayor and city councilors. So being an undecided voter there makes a lot of sense. Because it's not like the same as the federal parties where, like, you know, for mayor, someone will run and be like, I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, whatever. They'll run and they'll be like, my name's Tim Winnings. And you're like, okay, Tim, what's your policy? And he's like, if you own a bike, you should be in jail. And you're like, all right, not that guy. And somebody else is like, what if we just made everything in the city free? And I'm like, that actually sounds kind of sick. How do you plan to accomplish that? And then you dig deeper into his Facebook profile and you find out that, like, you know, he's a denier of major historical world events. And you're like, okay, maybe not that guy. And then you end up, you know, there's like Miss Boring or something. And she's like, I want to lower city tax rates by 0.04%. And I'm like, well, you're the only person here who has, like, it seems to be realistic. Everybody else is like, you know, what if we made the Pacific Ocean bigger? And I'm like, geez, well, hey, be careful what you wish for. By the way, we're almost done with this fight. I haven't paid attention at all over the course of it. I have been dodging like a madman, though. Did you see that? The man is non-stop. Fun run. Okay, like, we definitely made it happen. Big ups to that Sacred Heart. For now, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. And for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!